So about a month ago, we published our Network Global listing presentation. This is a presentation that's very similar to the presentation that I used when I was in production to take hundreds and hundreds, in the high hundreds of listings. My team has used it to take in the thousands of listings. It's a super effective and efficient way to go get more listings. It covers a lot. There are slides I'm going to talk about that you can be adding in that you can also be doing if you'd like, and some things I recommend that you do. I didn't want to put it in all of the slides in that we do with our team because some of it are specific to we have to pay for things. So I'm going to give you suggestions on things to add in as well that you can pay for yourself that could be effective and could be more advantageous to sellers to want to work with you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive in. So let me get this going real quick. Okay. Looks like it should be shared. So what you're going to see here is the Network Global listing presentation. And I just want to make sure I'm live. Sorry. I'm doing this early in the morning. I don't have any help here, so I'm doing it on my own. So I just want to make sure, bear with me for a minute. Okay, looks like you can see my screen. Perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to talk about each slide, and then I'm going to go in and just run through how I would do the presentation meeting with the seller. So first thing is just our company, correct? One of the things that's very important when you sit down, so when you get to a listing, what I always like to do, I'd walk in, always be early, number one. Make sure you're early, never be late. If you're late, sends a message to the seller that you don't care, you don't value their time. So make sure you're early. I get there about 5 minutes early all the time. If I get there earlier, because I don't like to be late ever, so I would get to a property 15, 20 minutes early. Don't sit in front of the house, that's weird. Make sure you park down the street or something. And then about 5 minutes before, I would be going up, knock on the door, introduce yourself, offer to take your shoes off. Sometimes people want you to, sometimes they don't. I've talked about a lot of this before, but it's just good to reiterate. Repetition is the master of skill, the mother of skill, correct? So walk in. I always like to walk through the house first. So what I ask them to do is say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thank you so much for having me over. Would you mind if I set my stuff down at the kitchen table and if we take a tour of the property? I want to set my stuff down at the kitchen table or dining room table because I have a presentation I want to present. I have comparable data I want to share with them. I don't want to be sitting in the living room trying to hold my laptop on my iPad or Surface or something on my lap trying to do this. So try to take control of the situation, get into a kitchen or dining room table, do your walkthrough. That's where you can good position to build rapport with people. And then I'm going to sit down with them and say, thank you so much for giving me a tour of your home. I've got a lot of great information I'd like to share with you. And before I do that, do you have any questions you have that you would like to ask me? Why would I ask that? I want to figure out if there's anything that's important to them. I want to figure out, sometimes they might say, you know, what's the house worth? You know, I'm glad you asked. I put a lot of comparable data together. What I'd like to do is show you our marketing strategy, and then we'll dive into the pricing. Is that fair? So you want to ask them what questions they have. What if they say, well, you know, our last agent didn't do any open houses, and that's super important to me. I want to make sure I address that concern in my presentation. So ask them if they have any questions. First slide is our company. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I work with a company called Network Global. We're a very professional real estate brokerage, and I would just dive in from there, right? You can talk about our reviews, online reviews, things like that. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, in our experience, there are three things that get a home sold. The first is price. Now, if a home is priced correctly, especially in this market, we know that we should be getting offers almost immediately. Now, if we're getting a lot of activity and we're not getting any offers, we're most likely 4 to 6% off on price. Now, if we're getting low showings, meaning only one showing a week, roughly, we could be as much as 6 to 12% off. And if no one's coming to see your home, it could be 12% or greater. Now, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen, and I'm going to share the comparable data with you so we can price the home correctly to get you an offer quickly. Does that sound fair? So this is a pricing strategy. Next thing is how the property shows. So I'm going to talk about each slide, then I'll run through the whole thing. I mentioned that. So second is how the property shows. Now, we need to make sure a property shows really well. So one of the things we offer is professional photos. So if you're going to not offering professional photos and you're taking it with your phone or something like that, I would pull this slide out. However, I recommend that you do. And here's why. 97% of home buyers start their home search online. So the power of having really good photos, that's our first showing. It's all about web appeal now, not necessarily curb appeal. It used to be curb appeal, drive by, see the house, make a decision if they want to come see it. With the internet now, they're seeing everything about your house online, all of the photos. So the photos have to be good. So we need to make sure we have good photos in the MLS. Third thing is marketing. This is ultimately what we control as an agent. Now, as a real estate agent, and we don't talk about this in our listing presentation, but what we know is that if we're priced correctly, the house will sell. Regardless of the condition, regardless of how it shows, regardless of the marketing, if the house is priced correctly, it's going to sell. Price is the number one factor and the most important factor to get a home sold. And we have to be doing marketing to show our value and our worth to be able to get the property out to as many prospective buyers as possible to be able to get them a good offer. So why I mentioned price as being the most important is because if you price a house and it's overpriced, way overpriced, 10%, 20%, way overpriced, and you do all the marketing in the world, you get the Goodyear blimp to spotlight the house 24/7. So everybody in the county, everybody knows in the country, everybody knows about the property. Let's say everybody knows about it. You've done so much marketing, you've spent so much time, energy, money, you've done a great job of marketing this property. What are you ultimately doing if the property is overpriced? You're doing a really good job of marketing an overpriced listing, which is never going to sell because there's not enough value there for people to want to pay the price that's being offered. So price is very, very, very important. The way it shows is also important, but the house can show terrible, and if it's priced correctly and there's enough value for the way it's priced, it's going to sell. So marketing, 33% of home sales, according to the National Association of Realtors, sell from agents communicating with one another. It's a big number. So we have a strategy in place for how we're going to get your property in front of agents. Advertise with all brokerages. This is an important slide because people think it used to be more relevant years past when the internet was newer, but people still think this, so we want to address it. They think their property might only go on your company's website, and they may agree to list with a larger brokerage because the website might be bigger, it might get more exposure, it's a bigger brand name. We all know that's not true. We in the industry know that's not true. We know that this property is going to go into the MLS and syndicate out to every real estate brokerage's website. Now, the general public doesn't always know that, so it's important that we let them know. So it's going to go on every website, no matter how big or small the company is. If they have a website, your property is going to be on it. It's also going to go on over 350 different real estate related websites. This syndicates out from the MLS. So this is showing people that it's going all over the internet. We're going to get it everywhere. Again, we know this, general public might not. This is a small example of the many hundreds of websites that are out there that their property will be found on. Big three, we want to make sure they know those properties are going to be on the largest utilized websites possible, like Zillow, Realtor.com, and Trulia. Trulia now, Zillow bought Trulia, not as relevant, however, it's still out there. Open houses. How do they feel about open houses? 5% of home sales, according to the National Association of Realtors, sell from an open house. So it's important that we let our sellers know this as well, because what if they want you to do an open house every single weekend? There's only a 5% chance that house is going to sell. Is that a best use of your time? Is that a best use of your client's time having to leave their house every single Sunday for only a 5% chance? Most likely not. And open houses can be effective because it's still a 5% chance. So we want to let them know that properties, 5% of homes sell from an open house, and do they want to do them or not? So I'm going to run through. This is just 11 slides, I believe. Pretty simple presentation. I'm going to run through it exactly how I would deliver it. And then I'm going to give some suggestions on things to add in as well that you can be adding in to kind of tailor this and make it a little bit more personal to yourself. So here we go. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thank you so much for having me out to your home. You know, I'm Michael Nettemeyer with Network Global. Now, before I get started, I've got a lot of great information I'd like to share with you. Before I get started, do you have any questions of me? No? Fantastic. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, in my experience, we know that takes three things to get a home sold. The first one is price. Now, your home has to be priced correctly in order for us to be able to market it effectively to bring you offers. Now, in our experience, we know that in this market, if we're priced correctly, we should get offers almost immediately, fairly quick. We're still in a very limited inventory supply market where properties are still selling quickly if they're priced correctly. Now, if we're getting a lot of activity and we're not getting any offers, and this by a lot of activity, I mean we're getting hundreds, thousands of website views. we're getting a lot of showings, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11 showings a week, a lot of activity coming in and no offers. We could be as much as 4 to 6% off on price. Now, I've put a lot of comparable data together for you that I'm going to share with you here in just a few minutes so we can make sure we price your home correctly. Is that fair? Fantastic. Now, if we're priced low, excuse me, if we have low showings, meaning we only have maybe 1 showing a week or even less, we could be as much as 6 to 12% off on price. And if people aren't even coming to see your home, they're only looking at it online or driving by the property, we could be as much as 12% or greater. Now, I want to make sure that we don't miss the mark on pricing. So we're going to go over this comparable data to make sure we price it correctly. Does that sound fair? Fantastic. Now, the second thing that gets a property sold is the way it shows. So in years past, it was all about curb appeal. I'm sure you've heard that. Now, with the way the market is, it's with the way the internet, it's all about web appeal. 97% of home buyers start their search online. So it's super important that we have great professional photography, that your property shows the best it possibly can online. So that will attract buyers to want to come see your property in person. You see, ultimately, online now, that's our first showing. So it has to show really well, and we have to have really good quality photos to make sure that sellers want to come see it in person. Does that make sense? Now, the third thing is marketing. Ultimately, we give some tips and suggestions on things to do to get your property ready and to showcase it the best as possible. But ultimately, the way where we price it, and we're going to give guidance on that as well, but that's really up to you, and the way it shows is up to you. We're going to give guidance on that, but ultimately that's your decision on what you want to do and how much of our guidance you want to take. The third thing is really what we control, though, and that's the marketing of your property. Now, 33% of home sales still occur from realtors interacting with one another. This means that realtors communicating and talking about your property account for over a third of home sales. It's a large number. So what we're going to do is, one, we're going to send out a bunch of email flyers, hundreds and hundreds of email flyers to all of the realtors in the area. We're then going to have paper flyers throughout our office talking about it to our team members and our colleagues within our office and brokerage. We'll have virtual tours. We'll have realtor talk about it at our realtor and office meetings, and stay in constant communication with realtors who have buyers for your home. Now, in addition to that, your home is not only going to go on Network Global's website, it's also going to go on every single real estate brokerage out there's website as well. What I mean by that is, no matter how large or small a real estate brokerage is, if they have a website, we're going to make sure your property is on that website. So that way it's getting maximum exposure from every single potential buyer out there. In addition to all the brokerage websites, we're also going to get your home on over 350 different real estate related websites. So out of curiosity, this is a small example of the hundreds of websites that your property is going to be found on, but out of curiosity, which website do you generally search for homes on? They're probably going to say Zillow or Realtor.com. We know that. You know, that's funny that you say Zillow. And because we know that, these are some of the most widely used real estate related websites by the general public. So we ensure that your property is going to be found on Zillow, Realtor.com, and Trulia as well. Again, 97% of home buyers start their search online. It's super imperative that we have your property on every single real estate related website out there. Now, how do you feel about open houses? This is where they might say, I love them or I hate them. Either way is fine, right? Totally understand that you love open houses. Now, were you aware that only 5% of homes sell from an open house? The reason I bring that up is because it is a small number. Now, it's still possible your home could sell from an open house. There's a 5% chance. And what I'd like to do as a realtor is I'd like to have your house open as soon as we go to market. So as soon as we go to the market, I'd love to have your house in open house with you. And then should we make any kind of price adjustment throughout the process, and I want to make sure we price it correctly, so we're not going to have to do that, but should we have to do that at some point, I'd like to do another open house at that point. You see, having you leave your home every single Sunday for only a 5% chance of getting your home sold doesn't really make a lot of sense. Would you agree? Exactly. So what I'd like to do is focus on the 95% of other things that I know will get that work, that will get your home sold. So that way we can ensure we're getting your home sold without having to have you leave every single Sunday. Fair enough? Great. Do you have any questions? There we go. Pretty simple, right? This is a tailored down listing presentation. Now what I'm going to do, if you have questions too, add it in. Brendan just says you're live. Yeah, I know. That's the kind of the point. Sorry, comments on there. All right. So a couple of things to add in. Think about this. So a couple of things we do as a team, we offer a staging consultation. We have a staging consultant. There are people that will do this. You can pay a fee. I know there's a lady at Flair Home Staging, does, I think it's like $100, something like that. She comes in and gives guidance. So one of the slides we add in here is a staging consultation, complimentary 1-hour staging consultation. We only offer this after they sign the listing agreement with us. Don't do it before because you're going to spend money and time. But what we do is we have a staging consultant come in and give guidance on what to do to get the house ready to show as best possible. So we know we live in our homes for comfort. When it becomes time to sell your home, it's all about setting it up for functionality. Homes have to be able to show as best possible so that home buyers can walk in and figure out, this is the right house for me. I can envision my stuff here. I can envision living here. I can envision my furniture here. We want to depersonalize, declutter, all of that. So offering a staging consultation is something that you may want to add in. In our presentation for a team as well, we also have different photos for homes that were prior to the staging consultation, as well as what it looked like after. So before and after photos, something to think about. Marketing as well, reverse prospecting. This is an effective slide that you can add in as well if you're willing to do it, right? It requires effort. You go into your MLS and you add in you go to reverse prospecting for your listing. This is every single realtor who potentially has a buyer for your home. Their search criteria in the MLS matches your listing. So if you're willing to do this, add this in as a tool. What I'm going to do every single week, what our team does every week, is we go into the reverse prospecting for every single listing and we email every realtor. Every single realtor on there, could be 20, could be 200, doesn't matter. Every single one. And then we begin calling them, letting them know about our listing and asking them if they think it could be a good fit for their buyer. Now, why would we do reverse prospecting? For a couple of reasons. Because one, the average realtor sells 3 homes a year. The average realtor is not actively looking at the MLS every single day. A lot of realtors do it part-time. It's totally fine that they do that. And we want to make sure that your listing, our listing, gets in front of those realtors. Also, you can see when people favorite it or save it as a possibility with a heart and a light bulb. That's a good time to send an email and make a phone call to that realtor. I see your client just say my listing is a favorite. When do you anticipate setting up a showing to come see it? So reverse prospecting is a slide I would certainly look into and add that in. Maybe you pay extra to feature homes on Zillow or Realtor.com. If you do that, I would talk about that. I would talk about the views and exposure, and if you're paying extra to feature it on those websites, you should definitely add that in. Another thing to think about as well, what else are we doing to market the property? So one of the things we do is through KV Core, you can go to listings on the left side when you log in, click on listings, find your listing, you can boost it. It has options for $45, $60, I think 120, and then it might go up from there, maybe $250. You can boost the property. You can also set the seller up on an alert, or they get an email seeing all of the activity that listing is getting through Facebook. You can boost it through Facebook and pay for that. That's something to think about that maybe you can add in as another touch, and you can add it in as a slide. Utilize KV Core to boost their property to show them how much exposure they're getting. So that's something else to think about. Another thing to think about as well is maybe paying for search. One of the biggest things the general public wants when selling a home is they want to know the realtor is going to be actively looking for buyers for their property. So be thinking about adding in, how can we utilize things like Google pay-per-click, where we're doing paid advertising to run targeted ads within Google to attract buyers. So these are buyers that are typing in things like, let's say I'm sitting in a house and it's a 4-bed, 3-bath in Chesterfield. I can go into Google, and you can do this through KV Core as well. Go to the marketplace and look at the different paid ad services. Again, it's an extra fee, but maybe it's effective in generating and capturing more business. But what I can do is run targeted ads for, if I'm sitting in a home in Chesterfield, I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what I'm going to do, or my marketing team is going to do, is they're going to set up, we're going to run ads for your home within Google, within the search engines. So I'd have a slide with Google, Bing, Yahoo, different search engines. And what our objective is here is we're going to run targeted ads for anyone searching for a home like yours on Chesterfield. So let's say, for instance, someone types in a home, 2-story home in Chesterfield. We want your home to be found in Google, where they come to our website and then register their information to inquire about your property. Possibly, maybe they're looking for homes for sale in your school district. We're going to be running different targeted ads like that to be attractive and proactively looking for buyers for your home. So the slide I would add in. Another one I would add in is your yard sign. 15%, according to the National Association of Realtors, 15% of home sales account from a yard sign call, someone calling off a sign. It's a big number. So I would add that in. Put a picture of your yard sign in, add it into here. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, were you aware that 15% of home sales occur from a yard sign call? The reason I bring that up is it's important that we have a sign in your yard because it's still a big number. It's a 15% chance or opportunity that someone's going to call in off your sign. Once they call in, they're going to call me directly. I'm going to have my name and phone number and information on there. Maybe you have a call capture system like a text messaging writer or something like that. I would talk about that as well. But any lead that contacts me, I'm going to answer my phone. I'm going to make sure they're approved. I'm going to get them approved. And if they are, I'm going to bring them to see your house. Does that sound fair? So these are things I would be adding in. One other one I would add in, communication guarantee. So we have within our team a communication guarantee. What that is, it's just what it sounds like. It's a communication guarantee. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we know in our experience and in our industry that communication between realtors and clients, that there's a bit of an issue there. In my experience, I've sold hundreds and hundreds of homes that were expired, meaning that they were listed with a realtor. The listing contract ran out, then I took the listing over. When I was talking to these sellers, to my past clients, a lot of them expressed some concern where they didn't hear from their previous realtor. They weren't getting a lot of communication. They would call, they wouldn't get calls back. It would take days to get a response. They would never hear from their realtor. My goal and objective is that I never want that to happen. I want to keep you updated every single step of the way, so you always know what I'm doing to proactively and aggressively get your home sold. Does that sound fair? So one of the things I'm committing to you is that you're going to get an update from me every single week. So every week you're going to get a call from me with an update on everything I'm doing to market your home, with feedback from showings. And oftentimes we're going to be talking more than once a week, because as I'm getting feedback for your listing, I'm going to be calling you with that information immediately. So that way we can figure out if we're priced correctly, if any offers, anticipating any offers coming in, and I'm sharing with you and constantly keeping you updated with everything I'm doing to get your home sold. Is that fair? So that's just another thing you can add in for a slide. So a couple of slides there. From a boosting standpoint, use the KV course system and maybe add that in to boost your listings to get more exposure. I would add that in as a slide. I would add in reverse prospecting. Look at that if you're doing it. Staging consultation could be a good option to add in. Communication guarantee could be another thing. An open house strategy. If you're doing open houses, what are you doing? Do you have a strategy in place for marketing your open house? One of the things we do is we do circle prospecting. We call around the neighborhood and let people know that an open house is coming up this Saturday or this Sunday. Why would we do that? People say nosy neighbors. Sure, neighbors can be nosy, and also nosy neighbors could potentially have a family member or friend looking to move into the area. So we want to make sure everybody knows about their property. We door knock the neighbors to invite them to the open house, put 10 directional arrows up, run ads throughout the week. So running ads on Facebook and different sources like that to make sure people know the house is open. It's in the MLS, it's on Zillow, it's on all those sites. So these are just some more tips to think about to get your listing presentation really beefed up to make it super effective. So that way you can go win more listings. This is kind of a bare bones, like a basic to get you started. Now I'll be thinking about some of the things I just recommended and different things maybe that you do that I didn't even talk about that you can add into this to make it super, super efficient. What I did essentially is I went on so many listings back in the day when I first got into real estate, and I would lose listing after listing. I got really good at setting appointments and going on listings. Then the next thing that I needed to work on was how do I convert these listings? So I would go on an appointment and I was taught, get into rapport. Everyone would always say, get into rapport with the seller. It's all about rapport. It's all about rapport. What people that say that, what they fail to miss is that a seller is hiring us to get their home sold, not to be their friend. So while it is important to get into rapport, a seller sees us as an expense. They see us as a 6% expense. They see us as a very expensive, depending on the price point, a very expensive expense. So it's not about enough to just get into rapport. We have to show enough value. So I would go on a listing presentation and I would say, I'd get into great rapport. I wouldn't get it. And I would call and ask, hey, out of curiosity, I'm always looking to get better. What did the other realtor that you decided to hire do differently that maybe I didn't offer? And they would tell me. So I would think about it. I'd add it into my presentation. I'd go lose another listing. I'd add it in. I'd go lose another listing. I'd add something in. I just kept getting to the point where there were really no more objections and I started winning more listings. So everything I just gave you today is basically verbatim what our presentation looks like. So be thinking about what you do, add stuff in as you need it. This is a good start to get you going. And then I would be adding more items in that you do to market the property to make it super effective. Later next week, we're going to get into more about pricing homes, as well as over the next couple of weeks, we're going to keep moving in different things through listings, how to price them, weekly conversations, what those look like, just to really get good. Because here's what's going to happen. Right now, houses in the upper price points, they're starting to sit a little bit longer. If it's priced correctly, it's still selling immediately. Homes that are priced a little bit high, 4 to 6%, 10%, they're sitting. So we need to be able to, one, effectively price a home, and two, be able to have those conversations with our sellers when the house doesn't sell the first weekend. We're shifting into a seller skill-based market that a lot of realtors have never experienced. A lot of realtors won't be prepared for it. We have to get good at having the tough conversations with our sellers every single week and not running away and trying to hide from having those conversations. So the more you practice, the better you get at it, the more you learn and you're educated, which we're going to help you with, the easier these conversations get. So you can take listings, keep listings, sell listings, and make more money. Hope that helped. Thanks, guys, for being on, and we'll catch you next time. If you have questions too, drop them in the comments, and I'll get to them later and answer them. Thanks. Take care.